Greetings from Greenville, South Carolina today. My name's Eric Mack, and this is the CraveCast for June 19th, the month of June 2014. We are in the midst already of a sweltering summer, and I'm joined today for the CraveCast to talk about the games we play during summer. Joined today by Stephen Beecham, Bonnie Burton, and Kelsey Adams in the studio there in San Francisco. And somewhere hidden at an undisclosed location in Central California is Jeff Sparkman. How are you guys doing today?
Good.
Welcome. So welcome. Thank you. How was everyone's past month? We got together last month and we talked about summer movies. So we got more summer stuff going on. The World Cup is happening. Bonnie, you've already been to one comic convention.
Yeah.
There's been all kinds of gaming news, all this stuff we're gonna get to. But how's everyone else been for the past month? Anything exciting? Any new developments that are left out that we're not going to get to?
Well, I just want to say George R.R. Martin is now on Twitter officially. So, and I know everyone's heard this joke, so he can kill 140 characters at once. Bum, bum, bum. Everyone's heard this already. I as soon as I did this story on CNET, I actually was going to time it to see who made that joke because I didn't put it in the headline or the text on purpose because I wanted to see how fast someone would do that, and I couldn't wait, so I had to do it myself. So I put it in the comments.
Yeah.
But he's a live blog journal guy. He's the one guy still on live journal. So him and all the goth kids, that are like the elderly goth kids like me. So we're still on LiveJournal. Everyone else moved over to Tumblr to talk about Cumberbatch. But yeah, he's still
not
there.
working in
I
DOS.
mean, you can be on LiveJournal and be on Tumblr.
I know.
talking
Well,
about
I mean,
Cumberbatch.
I also did that story that he uses DOS to write all of his books.
I'm not saying he can be on both.
Oh, right.
I'm saying you can.
Yeah, so it's not a shock. I'm just shocked he got on Twitter because he said on all these talk shows that he didn't want to be distracted, and we don't want him to be
Are you
distracted.
sure that wasn't like a PR thing? Like a PR guy made him do that?
I don't think a
Oh,
PR
totally.
can make George do stuff. He
Maybe
seems-
the book, the book.
Oh, you mean
publisher
Twitter?
or something
Twitter, yeah.
made him get a
I could
Twitter.
see.
They made me get a Twitter when I got here. So.
Did they? We
Do you have
when I
something sweet for you?
when I worked at Lucasfilm, we tried to get George Lucas to get on Twitter forever, and he's just like, no. So there's a lot of directors. I don't think Spielberg's on it, is he?
Probably not. No.
Yeah,
That would be like news if he was.
Yeah. So there's a lot of famous directors and writers that still won't tweet.
Yeah.
So that's endearing. But the fact that George is on that made me kind of happy. But of course, no one believed it, so he had to go to the publisher and get verification that it wasn't. Because there's some really funny fake George R.R. Martin Twitters out there too. So I follow both now.
I remember the one at Kim and Kanye's wedding.
Yeah. The
Oh,
wedding.
you went to that too?
Yeah. 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 Now I don't think
I don't want to name drop.
George R.R. Martin's never going to get another wedding invitation ever again. Let's just say
Except
that.
from Amanda Kuzer, who sadly can't be joining us today because she came down with con crud after her own wedding. But she said she would like him to have been there. It's true.
Aw.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
that's all I have that I wanted to add in that we're not going to talk about too in depth about because I'm just excited that he's on Twitter. So.
Well, let's go ahead and jump into your other recent travels, though, Bonnie, because
Yeah.
you have already been to a con. You went to the one in my hometown, your previous place of residence of Denver, Colorado. How was the Denver con?
DenverCon was great. It was, here's the thing with conventions. I think this is the third year at Denver ComicCon. This is its third year, I believe. I took a lot. Oh, that's, by the way, that birdhouse on the side of my Twitter was not at the con. That's in my craft book. So if you see a
This is
weird
Denver
birdhouse.
Con's Twitter here, right?
Okay, yeah, this is. But if you go to my Twitter, you might see some picture. I don't know. This is I'm afraid for you to go to my Twitter now without going directly to the links because I don't know what I tweeted recently last night. Nothing bad. It's probably just pictures of. I'm on a Cumberbatch hiatus, so I didn't. It's probably just all CNET stories.
Yeah.
One of
Is
those.
that
Oh,
one
the
of those-
dialect. If you click on that dialect that was kind of below
Which
the
one, this
giraffe,
thing?
yeah, that's a homemade dialect.
Oh, cool.
There was a little kid and a little boy.
I see him.
And yeah, you could kind of see him under the eye stalk thingy. I don't know my dialect anatomy, so I'm going to be really. But you could kind of dissect how he made it with his dad. It was on Father's Day, which was very sweet. And there was like a pie pan That was kind of the breastplate part, and then there was a whisk, an egg whisk, as one of the weapons. Obviously, the toilet bowl plunger as like part of the dialect. But he was going really fast, and I had to stop him so I could take this picture. And his dad was like, "Yeah, that's fine." And the kid was like, "No, no, 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 no." And I was like, "That's not what dialect said." He goes, "I have to pee," and he was trying to. You see those little wheels on the bottom? He was trying to wheel himself as fast as he could to the men's bathroom, and I felt really horrible. But that was one of the great homemade cosplays. There's also a homemade R2D2 that a little girl was in. That's the homemade. That's not. No, that's a heart that I tweeted. Now see, now you're just gonna see everything I tweeted last night. Yeah. Okay, yeah, stick to the links. Don't go to my Twitter page. That's gonna be a.
When I went to.
Okay, I got it right.
Yeah. So that was Gallicus.
When I went to Baycon last year.
Yeah.
There were two ladies dressed as 20s cocktail Daleks.
Nice.
They had cocktail frocks in metallic colors. With stiff skirts sticking out, and
I love it.
Cigarette holders.
Oh, yeah.
And full Dalek bumps and everything.
Oh, no, I saw so many renditions of Daleks, and let me tell you, like, it was kind of sweet because my parents were with me last day who have never seen Doctor Who, even though I watched it as a kid. And so trying to explain what a TARDIS is to parents that have never, ever seen Doctor Who.
I don't understand. It can't be bigger on the inside.
No, it wasn't that. My dad's like, you have all these great costumes and they all want to dress up like a box. A box. Like, he just didn't get it. And it was really kind of sweet trying to explain, you know, because he was probably like, where's the Longmire cosplay? You know, like they didn't understand. They didn't. But they appreciated the work that went into it. Like that R2D2 one that you just saw. That was a little girl that was
Go back
dressed.
to that one. That's the best.
If you can go to the homemade R2D2 costume that a little girl was in, which I also want to bring up because there were a lot of little girls in cosplay at this thing.
So cute.
And that's a homemade R2D2, which I thought was very sweet. Her brother's dressed as Luke right behind her. But I just loved this costume. And there was so much detail that went into it. And I find this super endearing. And so I've noticed because I go to about 10 to 12 conventions a year, including San Diego Comic-Con, which is the huge one. This is the first time I'd been to the Denver one. But I noticed in the smaller conventions, because this is people's convention, they're not all going to big conventions. This is their convention. So much cosplay. There was more cosplay at this convention than I've seen at most conventions across the board. And if there wasn't a costume they could buy and alter and make it their own, they basically made their own from scratch. And there was a great Wizard of Oz house.
Yes.
I think there's a picture of that. I had a link to that. If you could show that one. And it was someone had when is the witch? So it's the house that falls on the witch that's wearing the shoes.
And then there's her legs sticking out. Right.
And I was like, how do you see all that? And it's the top window. That's her only way she could see.
That window is down at like the level of her collarbone.
I know. And of course my stepmom was like, that's not the house. That's not a farmhouse. I'm like, if she did a farmhouse, you wouldn't be able to cover everything. So it's like, you can't be next. That's the thing with cosplay. You can't be perfectly accurate. You kind of have to make allowances. But I loved all this cosplay. So the story isn't up yet, but it'll be up probably before the weekend on CNET of all my favorite cosplay pictures that I took a ton. So it's going to be a gallery probably, but I love seeing people make their own costumes. B, I just love people dressing up and being passionate about stuff, which is great at these smaller conventions. So if you have a smaller convention in your town, you should definitely go. And then the thing I really loved was seeing all the little girls out there in cosplay. There's so many little girl Batmans. I think I have some pictures of some of the little girls that were dressed up in cosplay.
Captain America.
There's a little girl Captain
Yes.
America, and I love it because they made it their own. They're like, no, I want to wear a tutu or I want to wear a dress. So they'd wear these like muscle costumes with the dress, but then have the mask and have the shield. There was a little girl, Batman. She said she wasn't Batgirl. She said she was a little Batman, but I tweeted that one out, and she's so cute. And DC Comics retweeted that. So DC and Marvel both were following my pictures, and they would retweet these little girls' costumes. And there was a Superman girl. She was not Supergirl. Like, this is a thing. These little girls are very adamant about, we're not the girl versions, we're the boy versions, but we're wearing tiaras or we're making our own armor or whatever. Look how cute that is. So yeah, it was a nonstop, like adorkable line. It was like an adorkable parade. I have to use that word now that's official. It's like it was great. It was one of the best cons I've ever been to. So if you have a chance to go to a smaller comic book convention in your neighborhood or in your city, don't worry about not going to San Diego Comic-Con because that's really too big now. I
Yeah,
mean, we're
do you
all.
feel like it's become too much
huge.
big business and paying
It's a
$100
trade
to
show.
get?
It feels like a trade show now because it's all the movie houses, it's every single movie network, every single TV network, every single show. It's not necessarily all about comics and sci-fi and fantasy
Right.
and horror. A lot of it is wrestling. A lot of it's reality shows. A lot of it is just things that don't really fall into the geek sphere. But because there's so many people and all the media are there, all these TV shows want to be
Right.
there.
Oh, attention. Hey.
Attention, hey. So, I mean, it's overwhelming. And also, I'm noticing more and more at San Diego Comic-Con, there's less and less homemade cosplayers. There's more and more, they want to be professional looking. Like, they want to look like they just stepped out of the movie. So you don't have that kind of homemade feel anymore. You have all these people who look like they're auditioning for something. So I miss that. I like homemade stuff. I like seeing people, and I love seeing little kids in cosplay. And San Diego Comic-Con is just so hard to get into. You rarely see kids anymore unless they're in strollers hitting your ankle.
Oh, that makes
or
sense.
unless it's on Sunday, which is Kids Day. So I don't know. I love these smaller cons. So if you can go,
Where does
go.
Sparkman? Where's Jeff Sparkman?
There
Where's
he
Jeff
is.
Sparkman come down on the cons? You ever go to any? You went to WonderCon in the past, right, Jeff?
Yeah, I back when it was still in San Francisco.
Jeff and I both did actually, but we did not meet there.
Yeah, that's true. We were probably wandering right by each other.
What did
And
you
so
think
is
of
there-
the? What did you think of the
Yeah,
smaller
what'd you
con,
think?
Jeff?
Well, I used to go to WonderCon back when it was still in Oakland, and it was really small. It was cool because it was just a bunch of people kind of hanging out doing the same kind of thing. And then even the last time I went to WonderCon in San Francisco, it was just like kind of like going to a really big Costco on a weekend, except everybody was in costume. And there wasn't really a lot of room to move around and stuff, so it was kind of a drag. But now that I don't have one to go to at all, it would be kind of nice.
You
to
know
have
what,
one.
Jeff? Let's just dress up in costume and go to Costco.
Yeah,
There you
it
go.
has to be on free sample day.
Why not? Oh my God, they would give us so many free samples if we dressed up. I'll dress up as Godzilla, and you can dress up as
A
Mothra.
12-pack of
Yeah. No,
paper towels.
let's just attack Costco dressed as Godzilla characters and see how many free samples we get before they tackle us and
Yes.
escort us out.
When I was in college in Oregon, somebody talked me into dressing up for the premiere of the Mortal Kombat movie. This is back in the 90s, which was just an absolutely
Horrible
terrible
movie.
rendition. It was a horrible movie. And we all dressed up like the
I liked
characters
it.
and went to the theater in Portland, Oregon. Not only were we the only people dressed up, we were the only people in the theater.
No.
It was such a bad movie.
Well, that makes it
but-
easier to be the only people who are dressed up. So, which one
it's
were
just,
you?
It's just kind of a
Johnny
kind of a
Cage
sad
or-
thing. I think I don't even remember. Were you?
Aw.
No, that's Street Fighter. So now I'm confusing Street Fighter and Mortal Kombat. But yeah, I've blocked it out of my memory.
Aw, that's a sad
but-
story. That doesn't have a happy ending at all.
Well, at least
the
there
time when I dressed up and went to Kmart is actually sadder, so we can't get into that.
Wow.
But, yeah. Sad.
I mean, I
upbringing
dressed
since
up
but-
as Jabba the Hutt to test out
That's
a costume when I was working at Lucasfilm, and there's a Starbucks right next to the Lucasfilm and the Presidio. So I literally went down 3 flights of stairs dressed as Jabba. It's not a costume that you can really walk in. You shouldn't walk in. And then I made my way slowly. You have to kind of wiggle your hips because of the long tail behind you.
Right.
So I wiggled my way all the way to Starbucks, and it was like a Wednesday. It was like no reason to be dressed. But of course, the Starbucks baristas expect this now, and so they were just like I got a free. I yelled, "It's a frap," even though I was Jabba and not Akbar, and I got a free frappuccino. So I feel like if you cosplay at the right places, you might get free coffee.
Did they make any Java the Hutt jokes?
They did. Well, that's
Oh.
the name of the ILM. That's the name of the official ILM coffee house in the actual building. If you work at ILM, it's called Java the Hutt. So I went there too, because I wanted
Great
to load
minds,
up. Once I
folks.
realized I could
Great.
get free coffee, I went to every
Right.
coffee place I could find.
Plus, being wired up would help you move in that thing. Right?
No, I
Wiggle,
didn't
wiggle,
have
wiggle.
any help. Like people were like, "What the?" But of course, and there was someone that was applying for a job, and I went to the interview dressed as that. So that ends up in the employee handbook that you can't cosplay during job interviews.
Duh.
I know, but I thought that was a great indicator to see if someone had a sense of humor. If you had a long line of job people coming to
right.
interview you for a job interview, and then suddenly Jabba the Hutt comes in with a free coffee for you, I would be like, sign me up.
And you
How
actually, if
many
you're not
things
in
got
costume.
added to the handbook because of you?
I've gotten a lot of things added to the handbook. No taxidermy.
This does not surprise me.
Don't hang mannequins from the ceiling to scare the cleaning crew. Things like that. You know. Anyway, we digress. But
So
cosplay is
conveniently-
good. Cosplay makes you get free coffee. That should be our ender.
I used to kind of
It is-
semi-dress up as Mrs. Peel when I went to WonderCon. I did that twice.
I will say something that was very interesting, though, and I don't remember noticing this at San Diego Comic-Con, but at Denver Comic-Con, they had a weapons check. And that's to make sure that if your cosplay has a weapon, because there's a lot of video game
Sure.
characters.
They did that
and-
in San Diego too.
Did they?
took our
Okay. And
backpacks
the
for
line
guns.
was like this. I wanted to take a picture of the line, and I didn't have a chance, but it was the longest line of the most gigantic swords and realistic looking guns
Wait,
I've ever
is it
seen.
like that classic sort of scene that you
Yeah.
see in different movies where people just keep
Yeah.
taking out more and more weapons?
Yeah, but it
You know,
gets
like in
funnier.
Sixth
It
Element
gets
or Lord of the
funnier.
Rings.
So I looked all down the line, and there's like all these anime characters, manga
Right,
characters,
right.
video game characters, and then in the middle of them was someone dressed as the log lady, and she was
Oh.
checking her log as a weapon. How sweet is that? The
get really
Twin
nasty.
Peaks. I know, it was like a Twin Peaks moment where I'm like, oh, I never thought of the log being a weapon. I thought it was her husband, but it was very sweet that log lady wanted to check her log in the weapons check. I
Or
thought
some of
that
those
was-
wasn't
from
the
Firefly,
log.
like, I can kill you with my brain.
I know it was pretty great. I was like, oh, it was like a moment where I'm like, oh, go Twin Peaks, go! You guys are great. Yeah.
It wasn't the log; it was actually the splinters.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So conveniently, I've got a list of upcoming cons here, and there really does seem to be kind of a boom of these smaller cons. So this weekend alone, Texas Comic-Con in San Antonio, Bayou Con in Lake Charles, Louisiana, the Medicine Hat Fan Roundup in Medicine Hat, Alberta, Canada, and con in Jackson, Mississippi. Next week, one in Albuquerque, Savannah, Georgia, which I'm actually going to try to check out.
Oh, and
and
this weekend's also PhillyCon, Philadelphia.
Philly
Yeah.
didn't make the list.
Yeah, that's a big one. That's a pretty big
is
one.
it?
Yeah.
So we also got Saskatoon next weekend, Round Lake Beach. So I mean, that's Illinois. These are everywhere.
Yeah.
And then there's another month of them before you even get to Comic-Con in San Diego. So
Yeah. I mean,
plan
that's
your
the thing.
summer accordingly.
That's the thing. Like, I highly recommend anyone watching this that, if you've never been to a convention before, it's always good to start with the smaller ones so you kind of work your way up. You don't want to go straight to Vietnam, that is San Diego. Like, you don't, or World War II, Normandy. I guess that's more of a Normandy. I don't know how to describe San Diego Comic-Con to people who've never been there. It's overwhelming. So if you're,
Hopefully it's not
It's
Normandy.
massive.
it's massive. So if you're not really wanting to be in a massive con where you can't get to an exit quickly, and if you have social anxiety issues or crowd issues or just you want to survive, I would highly recommend doing a smaller one first. And plus, smaller ones are I like them better because, there's room to move. The Denver one, you were allowed to drink. They had bars everywhere.
cool.
They had these little
yeah.
open bar kiosks That's my favorite booth. So they had all these really, and they had their own beer. They had a beer called Bruce Wayne, which I love that pun. Yeah, it was Bruce Wayne, Batman holding a beer, Bruce Wayne. It was great. And it was a good beer. So, go to some cons that are local to you and support your local mom and pop comic book shops that are there too and have fun. And then you'll have kind of a good basis of what is to come at the bigger ones. So, yeah, enjoy
you
yourself
allowed-
now before it gets too big.
Were you allowed to do anything besides drink alcohol at the Denver one, that being in Colorado?
Oh, you
is
mean shoot people or
recently
something?
legalized?
Oh, that. There were a lot of
not-
people. There were a lot of people. It was probably the most mellow convention I've ever been to.
There you go.
And there were some people that were advertising, hemp stuff. There was no one dressed as a, marijuana leaf, which I was kind of expecting more High Times cosplay, but or at least Weeds the TV show cosplay, something like that. But no, there was nothing.
No Snoop Lion.
There was
cosplay.
there was no walking blunts. There was a Towley. I did see Towley from South
I think
Park.
that counts.
I think
Yeah,
that counts as pot cosplay, but no, it was it was pretty conservative. I mean, that's the thing. Denver is liberal. Colorado is liberal in some respects, and then very, not on others. I took my parents to that they've never been to a comic book convention. They have no idea what I do. Like, they just tell people I'm a writer, which is safe, but they don't know that I go to these all the time. So they went. And it was so cute because they were overwhelmed. They have no idea what Doctor Who is. So they're like, me trying to explain what TARDIS cosplay is was hilarious. My dad, equates a TARDIS with like a giant UPS box now. He doesn't know that it's for time travel. He's just like, why would people dress as a box? Like, he didn't get it. And I think he was expecting more Longmire cosplay. And sadly, there wasn't. There was no Westerns represented.
He must
But it
have
was
been
great.
thrilled by the Wizard of
Not even
Oz, at
justified.
least.
My
That's like
stepmom
analog
got Wizard of
cosplay.
Oz, and he picked out Dick. He was very happy about picking out Dick Tracy because that was the comic he read
that's
as a
his
kid.
era.
So there were a couple guys dressed as Dick Tracy. He figured it out, and he was like really excited that he could figure out some cosplay. But there was so many. I mean, that's a great thing about conventions. So many people make these characters their own, or they dress as obscure characters that not everybody knows everything. Like I didn't know half the manga and anime and video game stuff, but I know all like the classic sci-fi and superhero stuff. So it was fun, and it was just great to see the artistry of the fans. And it was a great con to take my parents because I would never take them to San Diego. I would lose them. They would just be they would be lost forever in talking about a TARDIS, that whole convention center. It's easy to lose everybody. So I'm just glad I could start them off slow. And they're used to stock shows, like National Cattle Association stuff. So there was one person dressed as a man-eating cow, which my dad also thought was hilarious. So that was about it.
There's going to be an interesting convention in a couple weeks in San Francisco. It's called Gamer X, and it's for LGBT gamers. It was started as a Kickstarter and became this huge thing last year. And then, so they followed up this year, and I gather this is going to be the last year. Like, they're giving up because they couldn't get enough money, even though there was so much support for it, and so many interesting things happened. And I actually know somebody who runs a small con, like a very small con, like a baby private con up in the Northwest. And apparently cons are like weddings. Like, nobody has any idea how incredibly expensive it's going to be until you start trying to throw one. And then it's too late to back out. So, yeah, there's just all these crazy expenses that you have no idea about until you start, is my understanding.
So just to wrap up the con topic here, anyone planning to go to any other ones? Let's go around real quick. Jeff, are you planning to go to any cons in this year?
Well, if they actually, had some around me, I would consider it. I think the closest one that I've been able to go to is up in Sacramento, and that's a little bit of a schlep for me. But I took my son to one of the last ones they did last year, and he seemed to like it.
And so there's nothing really in the Bay Area these days?
Yeah, there's smaller.
No.
There's smaller
Well,
cons. There's Super Wow.
Yeah.
And,
Baycon.
yeah, there's something
I
in
went to that
San
last
Jose.
year.
There's Image Comics Con in San Francisco.
And
There's
KublaCon, I went to that last year.
KublaCon.
It's a gaming convention. All kinds of games, like board games, and people have elaborate models, like 3D with spaceships and planes, and the childcare setup is really amazing. Like, they have a dude dressed as a barbarian, and he leads the kids all around and like has them shout war cries, and the kids love it. But they were basically following us from room to room. My friends and I were like, this is adorable, but I don't actually need any more war cries shouted at me. Why don't we go over there? And then they'd show up,
Yeah.
But yeah, it was a beautiful scene.
Yeah, Baycon's actually really fun. I've been there a couple of times, or once, and I think it's all in one hotel type situation where they have just a bunch of different rooms, and the panels are great because those are where real authors show up. Like
I saw
Hugo.
Lois
Yeah.
Master Bujold there.
Yeah,
last year.
so if you're a big sci-fi or fantasy fan of books, I don't know if people still read, but I do. The real authors actually show up. So you have these Hugo winners that show up all the time. But I go to conventions all the time because I'm promoting books and comics that I write. So I'm going to be not only at I don't know, are we all going to be at San Diego Comic-Con or just a few of us? So I'll be in San Diego
Comic-Con.
Oh,
Don't
Jeff. I'll make a puppet of you and you can come with.
He's got one already. Have you seen it?
I feel like we should just do a teleconferencing robot of Jeff. Like, we could just ship
We could
him.
do that, yeah.
Yeah, no, Jeff got 3D scanned for this company that came by seeing it, and it's really adorable. It looks just like him.
Where can I find that?
And yet, no, those two statements are not incompatible, Jeff.
It's a little shorter
It's on
than
his
that now.
desk. We didn't
Well,
bring it.
I'll bring it. I'll take you with me. So I'm going to that. I'm going to Rose City Comic Con in September, which is in Portland. Geek Girl Con in Seattle in October, and then Stanley's Kamikaze in November. So I think that's all I have for now that I know about. I'm guessing, but those are all smaller cons. So that's the cool thing is like I said, there's going to be a con pretty much everywhere. They're just springing up, and some of them are good, and some of them are still starting. So if you go to a con that's only 2 years old, give them cut them some slack because like Kelsey said, it's like. Honestly, it's like a
so hard to
wedding.
do.
It's
Yeah.
like it's always like especially if you're a ticket holder, you're always standing in the longest line possible just to get in. But once you're in, it's fun. So just be patient.
All right. And so let's see, moving on from the cons, what else is going on this summer? Well, there's a little thing happening in Brazil called the World Cup. You may
Soccer.
have
It's
heard of it.
Soccer Con.
The soccer, yeah, exactly. Football.
Half of your
Fuchiball.
outfits.
Football.
And so, normally this wouldn't be the kind of topic that we might embrace here on the CraveCast, but back around Super Bowl time, I tried to make the argument in a post on Crave that football has actually become a game for nerds. And in the case of the NFL, what I meant is that it's so much about data these days. And then you also have even players and coaches where they're basically, somebody like Peyton Manning is basically just a human algorithm, a 6'5" human algorithm. But it's almost, there's so much data in the game these days. And since if I'm making that argument for football, I feel like you got to make it for all kinds of football. So what do you guys think? I feel like the World Cup is actually somewhat nerdy, like especially in America where it's kind of like a little more foreign than anything else that happens. Yeah, it's like it's like an artisanal sport.
Well,
almost.
it was very nerdy at the very beginning because the exoskeleton kick happened, and I was following the story. Yep. I wrote the story in January when they announced that they were going to be building. There were these researchers that were going to be building this life-size exoskeleton for this guy who's never walked. He's a paraplegic, and he did the first kick. That clip, that tiny little clip, was one clip that one cameraman got because all the other cameramen were busy looking at, I don't know, hot girls in the stands or the players.
So that's all they have?
That's all they have is that clip. Like, fans didn't have anything because it was way, way, way off in the corner. And so there was no way fans could get it. And fans were busy looking probably at the other entrance where all the players were going to come out of. So, it was the most hyped thing that was supposed to happen. And, I mean, here you can see it kind of in action. Luckily, there was, a couple of news outlets that cared enough to get background. And when I wrote the story, there was hardly anything out there. And now, hopefully this will get more attention to this whole concept because it's a mind-controlled exoskeleton. He's wearing that helmet, so his brainwaves, the information can be collected, and then it goes through the suit.
It's amazing.
And then there's hydraulics that vibrate near his ankles. You can see the hydraulics. So it gives, so his whole body shakes, so he knows that his legs are moving.
Feedback.
Yeah, so he
Good
gets
idea.
feedback. And so this is the beginning, and a lot of people who can't walk, this may be the future for them, where they'll be able to have a machine that helps them do this that's not so cumbersome as the one you see there. But it was one of those moments where I'm like, this is such a I mean, no pun intended, maybe a little bit. This is a huge step for technology, and it was being debuted at the World Cup, and it got little to no coverage because I was in the airport when it happened, and so I was checking Twitter every 5 seconds. I was following all the World Cup reporters that I knew that were there. I was following all the tech reporters I knew cared about it, and only a few of them were like, hey, wait a minute, where'd that kick? All of a sudden the game started, and this was supposed to be the first kick for the game, and no one got the footage except for this one video clip. And it's so tiny, and it made me a little angry, but then at the same time, this is World Cup. They're not coming here for science tech news. They're coming here to watch their favorite teams beat each other. But at the same time, this story had been so hyped for months and months and months and months. And then as soon as World Cup started, it's like people forgot. So I'm glad that we could cover it. I'm glad that other tech places could cover it too, because a lot of the tech blogs luckily gave it some coverage. But man, it was just like, it was amazing to see that clip, and that guy was so excited, and the people that you saw around him were the scientists that helped build it, and he trained for months. That wasn't just the first time he wore that suit. I mean, he'd been training almost like an athlete to be able to walk and do that first momentous kick. So I was a little verklempt when I saw the video, and then saw the games and got more verklempt, but that's just soccer.
He's literally training with his mind.
Training with his mind. I know. I just know I could never wear an exoskeleton like that because my mind wanders. So I don't know if I thought about something else. Like, what would that, if I thought, I love that music video. Squirrel.
Yeah.
Squirrel. Would the exoskeleton chase after a squirrel into the traffic? Would I die? Like, would the exoskeleton think I wanted to do the robot? Literally.
You'd be amazing at Dance Dance Revolution.
Dance
I'm pretty
Dance
sure,
Revolution,
yeah.
I would kick everybody's butt. Like, I wonder if you have to really concentrate on walking. What if you're ADD? What if you just get sidetracked? You literally would sidetrack yourself into traffic, probably. So hopefully those bugs get figured out before I need one. But I imagine if you really want to walk, all joking aside, if you really want to walk, you are concentrating pretty hard. But for the rest of us that have problems concentrating, this could be a disaster.
It takes me huge concentration to walk across a room in heels.
Yeah.
I can't think about anything else.
I can barely chew gum and walk. I don't know how people text and walk and not constantly get hit. So, I mean, they do get hit. There was that great video on YouTube of that guy that was texting and walking down the sidewalk, and there was a bear that got loose from the local
that was
zoo.
awesome.
And
Yes.
the bear was
Yes.
coming right towards him, and he was still texting, and there were people screaming from windows going, hey, 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 there's a bear. Just totally not paying attention, and I really wish the bear just plowed him over, but luckily he figured it out.
We have a writer, the Politically Incorrect blog, who basically specializes in stories about horrible things happening to people who are using their phones. I'm not sure why.
I love those stories.
He's got a thing about this.
Yeah.
But, oh, a girl fell off a balcony. Yes!
Yeah.
He does another post.
Yeah. No, I love that. And I think with Google Glass, we're going to see more accidental run-ins with bears. I'm hoping. There's more bear. There you go.
Here's the bear.
There you go. So there's the bear.
There's the
I love
dude.
watching this video.
Where's the guy?
Yeah.
He shows up here in a second.
It's like
He's just cruising. Just
there he
texting.
is.
There he is.
There he is. Just texting. Oh, hey. Oh, hey.
I'm a bear.
Hey.
Jeff, sing your bear song.
I just thought it was a guy in an exoskeleton.
I know.
Furry
Well,
exoskeleton.
this guy is such a. I mean, what an amateur. Like what? No bear selfie? Come on. Come on. At least do a bear selfie. Yeah.
Hey Jeff, are you a fan of bears or soccer?
Sing it. Sing it.
Soccer with bears.
Soccer bear.
Jeff is a fan of Skyrim and bears. Jeff?
Oh yeah, I just finally got Skyrim on the PC so I could make the game as ridiculous as possible with a whole bunch of mods. And one of the coolest mods ever is the auto-tuned bear mod that replaces all the bear roars with roar. It's auto-tuned.
Wow.
I'm a bear.
Yeah, it's awesome because I always forget that it's going to happen, and then when I see a bear, I just hear it, and I just kind of lose it every time. Between that and the fart shouting, which is also a big hit with the kids.
What?
So,
it's been a while since
Kids are into it.
I need to play Skyrim. It sounds exciting. I don't play video games that often. I get bullied into playing video games. I think the last video game I played was with my nephew. Oh, I played Lego Star Wars, and he was just so embarrassed that I was bad at it because I worked for Lucasfilm, and he thought I knew all the tricks. I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing. And then in Sims, I just would always, I don't even think people play that anymore besides me, but I would just make rooms that had no doors and then put a baby in it and see what would happen. So I'm like a Hannibal version of Sims. Like if there was horrible things happening to people Sims, I would play it. But I don't know. If there's auto-tuned bears in every game, I would play it. Like if Call of Duty had auto-tuned bears, I don't know how they would work that in, but I would play it if that was the case.
I would totally check that out.
Yeah.
I'm not that into games these days. I don't know all these crazy foreign words you guys are using. I just know I'm pretty good at Carmen Sandiego.
Wait a minute. Aren't we going to be talking?
Wait, where is she?
Yeah, where is she? She's like the new Waldo, but more stylish.
I saw someone on Twitter, they said, slowly Mr. San Diego and Mrs. Waldo started to put the pieces together.
Yeah, exactly. That I do, not to bring it back to cosplay, but I do get pretty excited when I spot Waldo in a crowd.
Yeah.
And it's the easiest. It is one of
everyone,
the
yeah.
easiest cosplays to do, and I still get a little excited, and I have to scream it. And I'm sure you have to be used to people screaming, "Hey, there's Waldo!"
You're hoping for it.
But I love seeing him in a crowd still, especially if he's close to a Klingon. I always want to see them fight. I don't know why, but anyway, sorry. But aren't we supposed to be talking about games? We're supposed to be talking about all these game trailers.
Eric, you know what's funny is, no, don't look at me. Look at Eric. Go back to there we go. Yeah, that's better. To me, when I look at this, what I see is mist. Well, okay, we can look at Jeff too.
Oh yeah, like Eric's background does
you
look like
completely
mist.
look like you're in one of
Yeah, there
those.
we go.
There you go, like the steampunk control room, sort of maybe looking out on the water.
Yeah. Well, you are at a writer's retreat, so I feel like you could rifle through people's journals just like you could in Mist and see if you could find things.
It's actually an old rail yard. Here, this might help.
There you go. Man.
This gives you like the prison perspective. There's the
wow.
bar.
Yeah.
Wow.
So yeah,
it really is a
I'm
writer's
here
retreat.
trying to find my way out.
Wow.
But don't leave us
Well,
out.
but that was the other thing we wanted to talk about
Yeah.
is with the summer around this time of year, there's always tons of new gaming news and new games coming out, and I am really woefully behind the times on this. But I think Kelsey, you've been keeping up, and I checked out this new Assassin's Creed Unity trailer, which was just unveiled officially at E3, I think. And so this is the latest from the Assassin's Creed series, and it takes place during the French Revolution. I think we got a trailer and some gameplay. So do people actually want to play a war game set in the French Revolution?
Yes, they
Kelsey,
do.
what's your take?
I will let you know right now. The answer is yes, they do.
Do you get to be the Hawk? Because I would have been the Hawk at the very beginning there. That would have been great.
You sure you don't want to play an old guy in a wig?
Hawk is better. If I could claw out the eyes of the general as a hawk, I'm all for it.
Well, my first thought was guillotines, like little mini guillotines, like cigar cutters. You carry them around in your sleeves and just like. But that might be wrong. Anyway, so there's been this big controversy about this because they made apparently only male player characters, and they said that it was too much work to make a woman. And someone on Twitter apparently claimed it would have only taken them 2 days, which is obviously ridiculous. I'm sure it takes 2 days to make a raindrop. But the question of why they didn't think it was worth doing is another question, right? And
wasn't the number one French assassin during this war a woman?
Yeah.
Charlotte Corday.
Yeah.
So here's what I was wondering, though. Okay. I mean, of the people that I know who play this, 3 out of 4 of them are female, so maybe it skews my view a little bit. So whatever, I'm not getting into that. But if she's not a player character, what if she's an NPC in the game, or even a sight gag? Like, what if you walk down exactly the right street and you look up at a window, maybe there's like a silhouette.
I'm seeing a bunch of women in the preview.
There's a lot of women in the game, but immediately when this news came out, women were upset that there was no play, because there's 4-player multiplayer. You can play as a team and go assassinate people, right?
Yeah.
And a lot of women were really upset that it wasn't.
Well, you could just,
I
mean, this is a horrible way to think about it, but this is how I think about books when I get bored with them. You could just pretend a lot of women are fighting incognito as males.
Yeah, sure, and you can always sort of tweak your appearance. And that's every game I've played, people have deliberately messed with the gender.
A lot of women that wanted to fight in these revolutions just dressed as men.
Well, this is one of my arguments. Would that actually be that visually obvious how different? I mean, if you're this super athlete, right, who hops around on rooftops, I mean, and you're wearing a hood all the time, can you actually really tell the difference between the player models anyway? But people say Ubisoft really specializes in this kind of hyper-realistic look, and therefore they want it to be really, really distinguished.
You know, you could get away with this as a video game designer if you just make really androgynous characters.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah. I mean, that's what happens in Star Wars, but Star Wars games always have mostly have a lot of good female characters you can play too. So.
Oh, and this guy was saying that they would have had to make the female character model shorter, which just because that's a realistic biological average.
Someone hasn't been at Fashion Week.
So many ridiculous.
I know. Like,
well, that's
I mean, there's nothing.
They're coming up.
Biological averages have nothing to do with avatars in video games. Nothing whatsoever. I mean, that's a design decision. And why would the character be an average person? She's some sort of Italian ninja,
no,
right? I mean,
this is all backtracking. This is someone that was like, I'm sure there were like a handful of people in some meeting that said, hey, you know what? We should probably include women. And then very high up, they said, no, it's going to cost too much. No, we don't want to do it.
It probably never even came up. They probably didn't even realize it until they made the
I
until they made the
guarantee
announcement.
you.
They're like, oh, wait.
I would bet my hands on it that came up in some numerous meetings. But the people that brought it up weren't important enough to make those decisions. Because that's usually what happens. That happens at gaming companies. It happens at entertainment companies. There always is someone saying, hey, maybe we should make this game more diverse. Maybe it shouldn't just be a bunch of white guys, or hey, maybe we should put some women in this, or hey, has there been any thought to putting gay couples in video games, which did come up.
What was the
Tomodachi Life.
Tomodachi.
Yeah, that came up. So I mean, these are things that I know come up in meetings. They
and then
must.
another game just announced that they're going to allow same-sex marriages. What was that? They're like, our game has same-sex marriages. It was it Sims or I forget what it was, but it was just in the news last week.
Sims is
maybe
for
not
a while.
marriages, but
They just made an announcement like last week.
Yeah. We did a story on it.
Yeah. I can't remember what the game was.
Look it up on CNET. Yeah.
I'm not even up to date on which U.S. states allow gay marriage. I'm sorry, I'm not up on the Sims.
I just know. I only know.
Only 16.
Yeah, I only know from the wedding invites I get.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, I guess that state's clear to go. So that's how
every
I know.
year you have to travel less. It's awesome.
Yeah, I know. It's great. So I don't know. I firmly believe when people say, oh, those excuses for not putting women in games, those are what they are, as excuses.
It's a decision
that
they made.
It's a decision that was made
yeah.
during development. It wasn't something that was accidentally forgotten. Because games take forever to develop. They cost a lot of money to develop, and there's a lot of people checking boxes along the way. So it's not like one guy forgot to flip the the chick slit, like the switch that's like, oh yeah, add more girls.
Right.
It's not like making, that's a horrible analogy. It's not like making sausage. That's a horrible analogy. Maybe it isn't. Well, I don't know.
This is making me, before I get all bummed out about the state of the world, maybe we should move on to another game.
I mean, go Miss Pac-Man. No, I'm sorry. Okay.
While we're going retro, I just want to say, as a very, anyway, there's this game, Grim Fandango.
Yes. So excited.
I do remember.
So excited for this game.
So this is a PC game, or at least I knew it as one, but I think it was also consoles, right? Yeah.
I think so, yeah. I don't know. I always played it on PC.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
So this was a long time ago, and I actually got it as a present from my grandfather because he had this incredibly morbid sense of humor, and I thought that he would love it, and instead he found it, he like thought I was telling him I wanted him to die or something and refused to play it. So as a kid, I was kind of like, so could I have it then? No, that didn't fly. So I've been curious about it ever since. So when I saw it had been actually re-released so that we'd be able to play it, I got really excited because I finally get to see Grim Fandango. And I actually, Stephen, I sent you a picture.
Is it in here? Oh, okay. I see right here. Yeah. Let me look
at it. It's one of our pictures. We're allowed to use it.
I'm hoping to see Grim Fandango cosplay now. I mean, I would love to see that. There's some great costuming in this game.
Right, it's based on Day of the Dead stuff, right? Yeah, that's the idea. It's like a visual update to text adventures of going through a Day of the Dead themed. That's the artistic background. I really love artistic themed games.
I'm sold because this is a Tim Schafer game, and he is, if you want to go way back, he's Monkey Island.
Yeah, Monkey Island.
Monkey Island.
It's like old LucasArts stuff. Even though I feel like we should pour out a Red Bull in honor of LucasArts dying. Or being killed by the giant mouse that is Disney, but that they had so many great games. I mean, I want Day of the Tentacle to come back. That was one of my favoriteest games ever. And I mean, no surprise because Tentacle, but still, I mean, it was a great gameplay and there's great storylines in these games. So, and Monkey Island was great too. I mean, come on, that was Monkey. You had me at Monkey.
I played Monkey Island on an Amiga. That's how old
I played Amiga too. That's how I played Lemmings. I still have the Lemmings theme song stuck in my head. I almost failed out of college because I was obsessed with Lemmings.
Jeff, since you're an old video game tech nerd,
since you're old
to the infinite. No, the games are old.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Making sure.
Good save.
You're like Ming-No Wen. You don't look a day over 20, 25?
Yeah,
tell us something.
Yeah, tell us something, Elder. Game Elder God.
Something. Oh, well, okay. I am being an enabler for everybody who is as bad at this as I am, but Steam just started their super duper summer sale today, and I'm really trying not to look at it because I tend to buy a lot of games.
You have a problem.
Well, no, it's not a problem. Well, yeah, it is a problem because I'm running out of room for them. But in terms of retro stuff, I've been able to share a lot with my kids.
Yeah.
My son just turned 11, and like all 11-year-olds, he asked for a Sega Genesis for his birthday. And actually, this
Sega Genesis.
What?
Yeah,
Sega Genesis.
And it had to be the first version. It couldn't be like one of the. He didn't want any of the like the emulator ones that you can get at the stores now. So I had to go to a classic video game store and buy one. And this was after he got the Super Nintendo for Christmas, and it's got the regular. So now I'm really just dreading what he's going to ask for next. I mean, I know
TurboGrafx 16.
That's what I'm afraid of.
Oh.
eBay is your friend right now.
Yeah, eBay has a ton of that stuff.
Yeah. He also wants a Virtual Boy, and I'm like, yeah.
Just get him a Simon. Just give him a speak and spell. Just say this isn't the new thing. A Mr. Wizard math computer.
Teddy Ruxpin.
Yeah. Wow.
He's a Hotel Mario. He's obsessed. He's the one who made. Oh wait, it's backwards. Hang on.
We can see it.
Yeah.
Here, that Mario
well,
thing.
you were right the first time.
Yeah.
We see it.
Your Mario photobomb.
Yes, that's my son did that.
Yeah. Oh. See, I love introducing kids today to classic video games. I mean, we myself and some of the other writers follow the Fine Brothers on YouTube, and they always do these great kids react videos of kids react to rotary phones and kids react to,
That's what my daughter wanted for Christmas.
Yeah. Oh, well, they still did the Fisher-Price rotary phone, so it confuses these kids that are now on actually using
How do you play games on
iPhones.
this?
Yeah, they don't. That's a nostalgia thing. So
speaking of nostalgia, I'm sorry, but we're kind of running out of time.
Oh, yeah.
I wanted to mention Mass Effect.
Oh, yeah. Do, yeah.
Okay, so I'm sitting on the wrong side of the table for this, so I'm going to turn. All right. This is my...
Oh, way to
jacket.
represent.
Yeah. And here's the thing. So I bought this because it's awesome looking. It's got a whole hood and whatever. And I'm a huge BioWare fan, have been since Knights of the Old Republic. But I've never actually played Mass Effect. I was busy when that came out. And so whenever I wear this jacket, total strangers come up and want to talk to me, and they're so happy to meet another Mass Effect fan. And I mean, I got comped a drink the other day. I mean, it's kind of really embarrassing, okay? Because I have to explain to them all that I'm just being a poser. This is my poser jacket. So I finally went and bought the entire Mass Effect trilogy, downloaded it, which took 2 days because I don't have cable. And I finally started playing it. So I'm partway through the first game. I've been trying to plan out my romances over the course of the trilogy and all that. It's BioWare. And anyway, I've been having an amazing time, and I'm obsessed with it. And I really want to go buy everything else in their store because I would have bought everything in every store for every game I've ever played if I'd known there were stores and had a credit card at that time. So this is my happy. I'm living it for the first time. That thing that a lot of people remember so fondly. I just wanted to share that.
That's sweet. That's great that people come up to you when you're wearing that jacket and they want to bond with you over Mass Effect.
Like we were at this bar and someone stopped by and said, "Hey, I saw your jacket and just down the block there's a guy in an N7 T-shirt. You need to go talk to him."
Wow.
What?
Awesome.
I should go tell him I'm a poser? No, I can't do that.
They should. You know what? The people that make the Grindr app should do something where it's like you can
Nerder.
you can hook up with gamers, but Gamer. I don't know. I always think of how can I find an app to find other people that like the same thing I do, but most of the people that like the same thing I do don't want to be around people.
Yeah.
So
Well, it's not so much that you don't want to; it's just you really suck at it.
yeah. Like
I hear.
Well, yeah. I mean, I collect whimsical taxidermy, but I don't know if I want to hang out with all the other whimsical taxidermy. I mean, that could be a Hannibal episode if I don't watch it.
Or it could just be a very quiet conversation.
Yeah.
Just sit and stare.
With a lot of really creepy staring. I don't know. You have to be careful what your interests are. You might end up with people just like you, which might be bad. Right. So, but no, I'm glad that you brought that up because there's a lot of people rediscovering games that they hadn't had time to play because there's so many to play.
I'm sorry, and the reason I mentioned this was there was a Mass Effect 4 trailer at E3.
Yay, full circle.
Yes.
Memory.
So they are actually making another one, although it doesn't seem to be very closely related, and I'm not actually going to watch this because spoilers, so let me know when it's over.
I want to watch it because hot.
It's from the press conference, so it's not really like a
trailer.
I don't care. This is important to me.
Oh, of course I'm like, oh, Mass Effect. Why? The game takes place in a conference room?
Yeah, it takes place in this recording studio.
That guy doesn't have enough armor on. That guy's gonna get killed.
Stop tempting me to look, dude.
No, we're making fun of the things that don't matter.
They're just showing some of the art and some of the
don't worry, we'll let you know. We're not making fun of it.
I thought we were on to Jason Momoa already.
No, we're just making fun of the people talking about it because I would love to see a video game of the developers themselves fighting.
Well, there's that calendar, Hot Guys of Developers or whatever. It's a joke calendar.
Oh, really?
Yeah. You probably don't want to see it.
Oh, I don't care about that. I just, I would love to see. It's too bad as bonus added material in the trailer, they don't show the developers fighting in conference rooms. What do you mean we can't add girls? What do you mean it costs too much?
Mass Effect has Jennifer Hale, a femshep, as everyone calls her.
Yeah.
At least in the first 3 games. She's amazing. She's a wonderful voice actress. I love her in Star Wars The Old Republic, too. She plays more than one character.
I will bring that up. There's a lot of great voice acting from actors in these video games. Mm-hmm. It's not all, it's when you think voice acting, you think people just reading off a teleprompter. It's like old radio shows. People put in a lot of effort to make it realistic, and there's so much random dialogue and joke dialogue and scary dialogue. It's not easy to do that. And I've seen some video games like the LucasArts Star Wars video games. I got to sit in and see, a lot of the actors do their voiceovers, and they really get into it. And they're real, and they're gamers themselves. They're fans of these video games as well. And there's just the list. If you look at a lot of really well-known actors today and look at their IMDb's, a lot of them have pretty substantial video game voiceover listing. So
Nathan Fillion is in Jade Empire, for example. So
Yeah.
BioWare. But this Jennifer Hale or Haley, I've heard it pronounced both ways. She's not a fan apparently of sci-fi or gaming or whatever, but she takes it really seriously all the same. Because she wants to do a good job. So she's like, I'm going to convey the sound of a javelin hitting my stomach. No, that's not right. And she does it again.
Oh, well, how would you know unless you know?
No, but she's amazing.
Yeah.
She's perfect.
I love it. I love that stuff.
Yeah. Okay, I'm done about Mass Effect.
One last thing we wanted to talk about, and this only ties into games. This isn't really games news, except that it involves Jason Momoa, who on Game of Thrones is called Drogo, and he's recently been cast in Aquaman. What the hell? So what do you guys think about this? We talked about
predicted
Aquaman.
this.
Yeah, there was a lot of discussion about this on the board or in our comments and then online on Twitter.
So what I would like to point out about this is Ronan Dex on Stargate Atlantis, Conan the Barbarian, this Khal Drogo person on this Game of Thrones you all keep talking about, and now Aquaman. This is a big turn in Jason Momoa's career because it may, if they stick to the original costume, this may be the first time he has worn a long-sleeved shirt. You know, it covers the entire chest region.
I'm excited to see what the costuming is going to be on this because it can go really cool or it can go really camp. Really camp.
I feel like either of those would be good.
Yeah,
frankly. But Stephen Beacham.
Yeah, let's look. Be careful.
Right.
Be careful when you do Google image searches.
He's got to have some scales. Definitely has to have some scales.
Yeah.
We're probably not going to make him orange.
You don't think so?
It'll probably be dark, like orange, dark.
Gritty?
You know? They're going to make it dark.
Gritty
right?
ghetto
Do you
orange.
think maybe they might just put him in shorts?
Yeah, I mean, look at this Aquaman right here. That's pretty cool.
Oh, yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Who's directing it? That's one thing I was like trying to find.
Yeah.
Do you guys know who's directing Aquaman? Because that's
a
important.
good question.
I did IMDb this the other day.
Well, not only who directed it, who wrote it. You know, keep in mind, screenwriters are just as important as directors, depending on the tone and.
Look at this Aquaman. He's got long hair.
Yeah.
Oh, but so Stephen, you're the one who wanted an Aquaman movie.
Yes.
So tell us how you feel about this.
I'm totally excited about it because I love Kai Drago's character in Game of Thrones. I thought he was really awesome, and I think he could pull it off. They needed someone who was not very well known. You know, like Ben Affleck's gonna be terrible in Batman.
Oh my God.
But I'm totally excited about it. If they do it right, if the director's good, if they do it right, they make it look really hardcore, then it's gonna be cool.
I mean, he's got Momoa. He's funny. He's charismatic. It's not an image. I mean, I mainly know him from Stargate. It's not an image that I really associate with Aquaman. But I recently learned that the person I thought was Aquaman was actually Submariner. So I don't.
Yeah, don't mix those two up.
Yeah.
I was horrified.
Don't mix those two up. Yeah, I want to see that costume. I want to see it as cartoony as possible. I want to know who's gonna play the seahorse.
Yeah,
it looks like the writers.
No.
Oh.
Oh, maybe it'll be voice. I don't know. See, I don't know enough about Aquaman to get excited about this, but I'm glad.
Yeah.
But also, you know,
Much of Aquaman.
where's my freaking Wonder Woman movie? That's all I keep saying over.
She's supposed to be in this too. I mean, it's the Gal Gadot version.
What's gonna happen is she's gonna swim by, and they're gonna be like, "See, there's your Wonder Woman movie. It's just swam by. Look, there she is in her invisible jet for 3 seconds.
Well, this
See, quit whining, Bonnie. There's girls in films.
This article gives the producer, but not the rest of the.
You know, they might not have.
Try IMDb.
They
might not have announced
Zack
it.
Snyder.
Oh no!
It is Zack Snyder?
Oh no! The Sucker Punch guy. Ugh.
No. Zack Snyder's done a lot of movies since then, and are actually pretty good. So I have faith.
Okay, wait. I'm gonna look at his IMDb real quick.
He
All
did
right.
Man of Steel.
This is the guy.
300.
Yeah,
okay, 300's good.
Keep in mind.
Watchmen. Okay, yeah, I'm on board.
Well, Man of Steel. Man of Steel. I think was that his most recent.
Yep.
And that was gritty. You have to admit that was not a kids movie. That was a lot of death and a lot of talking, but there was also some good action sequences.
Is a lot of death really what you want from a Superman story?
And the casting was great. Well,
he's doing Batman vs Superman.
Yeah.
And Justice.
That's where we're gonna see our. Oh, look, there's Wonder Woman.
Dawn of the Dead was good. Morrissey, I love Morrissey.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, here's the thing with Zack Snyder. He can be a little bit controversial because obviously not everyone loves Sucker Punch, and you know what I mean.
I was thinking of a different movie.
And then Man of Steel really was. It's hard to do a Superman movie because I swear that whole franchise cursed. It's hard to like make it kid friendly, but also gritty, but also Superman is such an odd character.
But I think people thought you couldn't do Spider-Man right either, and then they did it, and now they won't stop doing it. They're just making
some people
and over.
Yeah, but some people are saying that Spider-Man's done to death, and it's still not.
I feel like we could go on Spider-Man hiatus.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
So and there's so many characters. Especially from Marvel and DC, and let alone all the independent comic book characters from independent comic book companies, from like Fantagraphics on. I feel like. And Image and IDW, I feel like there's so many different choices out there. We don't need to stay with the top 3 guys all the time. I don't need another, personally, I don't need another Batman movie. Personally, I don't need another Superman. I don't need another Spider-Man. I want to see all the other characters. And I heard, even though I'm not an Aquaman fan, I'm excited that it's a different guy. So, I feel like Hollywood could be kind of lazy sometimes, where they're like, well, we made a lot of money on that one. Why don't we just do it again? Reboot.
Well, I heard Howard Stern talking about Hollywood's thinking about making an Ant-Man movie.
Well, that was supposed to happen, and then Edgar Wright. This is, I know this.
Kicked off it or something,
No. I know the story on this. So Edgar Wright had been working on this for 8 years, and working closely with the screenwriter. And the thing with Ant-Man is, it's not a major character, but it was a beloved character, and Edgar really put in the time and effort for this. Everyone was excited for this movie.
Michael Douglas was going to play him?
No, be careful what you're Google searching, because you're going to end up in like... This is live. This is live, man.
Don't put in Ant-Man.
Don't be careful with your Google searches. What are you doing?
By the way,
oh my God, I'm so nervous for no. But I want to finish the story though. So the problem was that this was way anticipated. A lot of people were excited. A lot of fans were excited. Edgar Wright's I think he's a great choice. He already proved himself, obviously, with his own movies, but then with Scott Pilgrim, I feel like he could do this. But because Scott Pilgrim Edgar Wright directed Scott Pilgrim. And so because of that, he's got the chops to do this. There's humor in it. It would have been great, but there was creative differences between him and Marvel/Disney. And as an artist, he really takes what he does seriously. It's not just a paycheck. And I think all the changes they wanted to make to what he had already agreed that he wanted to do, he couldn't, in his good conscience, continue on as the director. And they left on, They left on good terms, so hopefully he'll be able to do another Marvel or, let's say, Star Wars movie. I would love to see him do a Star Wars movie, but especially since they're using a lot of independent directors for the new Star Wars.
Are they?
But like the next spin-off was a director a very young director, I think, that had only done one movie in his 20s. So, they're doing a lot of, they're reaching out to unknowns. But with Edgar, I'm just so proud of him, because that must have been so hard to walk away from that project after being on it for so long, and so many people excited for it. And he just I can't do this, not with all these changes. And they left on creative differences, and a new director and I think new writer were assigned to it. So
it must be so hard when you're used to having so much control over your work.
Well, I don't think any director really has major control over their work unless they're way up the food chain, or unless they really saved the butt of a film studio.
Or they financed it themselves.
Yeah,
it seemed like he had a lot of control over Hot Fuzz.
That was his own. He wrote it and directed it, right? But Scott Pilgrim, he had a lot of control over it, and he didn't write that. And Scott Pilgrim was based on an independent comic, and it wasn't a blockbuster hit, but it was a great movie.
I love that.
And a fan favorite. Like, a lot of fans loved it. And Kevin Smith has had problems when he's not fully in charge of a movie. Bruce Willis, cough cough. There's things that he has to deal with, and unless you're and Tarantino still has to deal with stuff. There's every director has his problems with studio network executives. If it wasn't for George Lucas sticking to his guns, Chewbacca would have been wearing lederhosen, because that was one of the notes that came down from the network, and George just pretended that.
Naked.
Yeah, George just pretended he didn't get any of those notes. And if that was, because they didn't want a naked animal with just a bandolier being a co-pilot with Han, who, anyway.
I think I can solve all this. I just hereby appoint all of us in charge of market research for all films to be made from here on out.
Show.
Yeah, we'll see what happens.
I think we can roll with Khal Drogo as Aquaman, but everything else needs to be run by us from now on.
I don't know why people don't check with us first, though. I will say there were a lot of T-shirts I saw at Denver ComicCon with the Batman logo and Affleck across it. So I don't know. Maybe there's quite a few fans. I don't know.
Maybe.
I always think of car insurance when I hear Affleck. So I don't think of that duck or whatever. I don't know. But let's just say everybody, we can talk and debate, and that's the greatest thing about being a fan of these movies and comic book characters is not everyone's going to be happy with casting choices and director choices and screenwriter choices. So that's what makes us fans, right?
Right.
Silence.
Crickets. And
I'm blaming the delay.
Well, hey, I think that's all the time we've got for today. So let's plan to do this again in July. Thanks everyone for joining us. If you got any suggestions for upcoming CraveCast, why don't you tweet us at Crave, and we'd love to hear your feedback. And see, anything else, you guys?
To escape from that room, Eric, you're going to want to find a lever and pull it.
Yes. It's here somewhere. I know it's here somewhere. All right, well, thanks for joining us, everyone. I'm going to go try to find my way off the island, and we'll see you at the cons. For Bonnie Burton, Jeff Sparkman, Stephen Beecham, and Kelsey Adams, I'm Eric Mack.
Bye.